This is Taranis AcreForward, the ag industry's most thought-provoking podcast. Listen to interesting people as we go in-depth into the issues affecting crop advisors, growers, and farm communities, uncovering the truth about the ag business and using technology to prepare for the unforeseeable. Ready to explore the future? Let's dig in.
Hello and welcome to this episode of the AcreForward podcast. My name is Laura Hankey and I'm excited to be back this week to talk more AI and its place on the farm. Now, if you happen to catch our conversation with Taranis' head of AI, Nair, you already have the nuts and bolts of Taranis' AI from one of the folks responsible for its development and continued improvement. Today, we're taking that conversation one step further, bringing it back to the farm and sitting down with Taranis Regional Sales Manager, Brian McMurtrie. Brian, thanks for joining us here today.
Hey, thanks for having me, Laura.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Brian, when I first started putting the outline together, questions to ask Nair, it became clear very quickly that there are a lot of questions around AI out there. And so what I wanted to do today was just really bring it back to the farm, as I said, and talk about the practicality, the ROI, the true benefits that farmers are going to see, the things that make their life better. So before we hop into that, though, let's learn a little bit more about you. Tell me about yourself and how you came to work for Taranis.
Yeah, so I live about 50 miles kind of northeast of St. Louis. For Taranis, I cover southern Illinois and parts of Missouri. For about 15 plus years previous to Taranis, I spent most of that time in ag retail. Started in ag retail, actually working in operations and worked my way all the way up through operations to an applicator, to precision sales, to sales department. Did agronomy sales, did marketing management, and worked my way into management. So 5 years previous to Taranis, I was managing retail. I was managing a full service agronomy retail along with a couple grain elevators. So when you look at my background, I've got a pretty extensive knowledge of how retail works. My opportunity to come to Taranis, it's kind of a personal opportunity. I was that guy in retail who was working, 80-hour weeks, 90-hour weeks. I can remember one time that we went like 42 days straight without even having a day off. So I know, when it comes to retail, how hard all those guys work in retail. I was missing a lot of family events. I was missing a lot of my kids' sporting events. Weekends, my wife was like an only parent, trying to get our girls around to all kinds of different sporting events, and the opportunity to Taranis came up, and I was presented with this tool, this service that Taranis offers, and it was kind of just one of those big aha moments, like, holy cow, this would make my life so much easier. This would make my team's life so much easier. And I just really wanted that opportunity to take this product out to the country and share this with all the other retailers, all the growers that are out there, because ultimately I saw this as something that would give them time back in the day. It would make their life a lot easier, and it'd allow them to not miss those events of their kids or those family events, and ultimately just make that work-life balance so much easier.
Well, how cool is it when you have those aha moments that just really connect to your soul, and you can say personally, I would use this and I need this and retail needs this. So that's really the conversation that we're looking at here today is how does this change what you were doing before? So when you were looking at your life at that time and you're presented with Taranis and you see the things that it can do, what are some of the things that hop out at you initially that said, we need this in the industry?
Yeah, so I think back to a specific example. When I was managing retail, I was doing, every job I could do there. We kind of had the motto, we do what it takes, and you just do what needed to be done. And I would have growers calling me and want me to go out and look at their fields, to stage them, to, see if we need to make a herbicide application. And honestly, there wasn't enough hours in the day. and seeing what Taranis provides and being able to use Taranis and sit down in the morning over a cup of coffee in 15 minutes and look at the Taranis dashboard and be able to scan through thousands of acres in a matter of minutes and prioritize your day and be able to see, all right, what fields have issues, what fields don't have issues. And there may be 20, 30 fields that need to be looked at in one day, and you can prioritize that down to about 4 or 5 fields that need your input, need you to go out and look at. So it was just a way to prioritize and time management and make you more efficient in what you're doing.
Yeah, and aside from the prioritization and the time management and all of those great things that help you as a service provider, what does that do for your relationship with that grower when you can walk directly to the issue that they're having, have that conversation, and probably save acres, I'm guessing?
Absolutely. It's like you said, save acres. It's a way to identify those threats early. But what it does for the relationship between the retail level sales rep and the grower is it builds tremendous rapport with them. You're not just stopping into their shop or jumping in the tractor with them and just visiting with them. You're actually bringing them valuable information, valuable data for decision making. And instead of just having a normal conversation with them, you're sitting down and you're actually making decisions on their farm with this data you're bringing them. And that is huge in building rapport with growers. By bringing them information rather than just a conversation. And being able to communicate back and forth with growers and sales reps is huge, and it's all about building that rapport with the growers.
Mhm. Yeah, and I did an interview once, and the guy that I was interviewing said, "We're all from the show me state when it comes to agriculture. We want something we can hold in our hand." And you mentioned the dashboard. What does that tangible information, something that they can really build an action plan off of almost immediately? Well, talk a little bit about that and how that strengthens that relationship as well.
Yeah, so with the dashboard, everything's prioritized. It's all color coded. Red's bad, green's good, and we have yellow and orange in between. So you're able to filter by anything on there and really identify what those threats are. You're able to generate reports off of that. You're able to generate year-end reports, communication pieces between the grower and the sales rep. You can share data back and forth. You can communicate through text or social media. There's just so many different avenues of communication there. But it's ultimately the dashboard's ultimately a spot to where all data is compiled and all data is easily viewable and very user-friendly and very easy to navigate and filter and determine where those threats are and where those decisions need to be made at.
Mhm. Yeah, and bringing it back, this is an AI conversation, and really everything that Taranis is doing, not really everything Taranis is doing, is based off of that proprietary AI. So, talk a little bit about that and how those you guys are flying fields every day.
Mhm.
You're doing those at strategic intervals. Talk a little bit about that, Brian, and what the quality of those images looks like in the hands of a farmer.
Yeah, so we have a cadence that where we come out and we fly the fields. It all starts with a GDU model to get the crop initially emerged, and then we have a cadence where we come in typically every 10 to 15 days flying those fields. Those fields are processed utilizing AI, and then you get a notification when those fields are ready to be viewed. And the power of the AI is just unbelievable. Our AI is constantly learning, so the more data captures it gets, the better it gets. And we have literally hundreds of millions of data captures over the years that Taranis has acquired that the AI has learned off of. So once it processes that and it utilizes what we consider leaf level data capture. When I say leaf level, it's super high resolution. You throw a business card down, you can basically read that business card. Through that high level data capture, the AI is really able to process those images and determine what threats are out there. And then once it's processed, it's ultimately at your fingertips on the dashboard or on the mobile version, the Connect app on your phone or on your iPad. So the power of AI, the AI machine is really what is behind all of Taranis. It does all of the processing for us and it identifies all of the threats. And then it's user friendly, very easy to view on the dashboard and determine what you need to do to make decisions.
Mhm. Yeah, a really cool story from last summer. I was visiting with a grower in South Dakota, and they hadn't had tar spot before. And Taranis was able to identify tar spot that was showing up in some fields in that area. And they were like, what is this? And just the power of AI being able to identify tar spots from those high resolution images that had been input. To me, that was just mind blowing that it was able to not just identify threats that we know are present and that we know that we have to watch out for, but really those aha moments that, gosh, we've got new things coming in that we need to keep an eye on as well.
Absolutely. And the thing about tar spot is that, it comes into the fields, and a lot of times it's coming in. And so with the power of AI and what we're identifying in those fields, um, we're identifying this on every single acre. So that's what's really important about Taranis, is that we're identifying this on every acre. So if you're to do boots on the ground and go out and scout these fields, you're typically not going to cover every single acre that you cover. So with Taranis and identifying on every acre, you're able to really see what's going on in the field rather than going out and scouting with boots on the ground. So we can really start to see as tar spot, as other diseases start to come in, and identify those early, so you can make a decision and go out and take care of it.
Mhm. Yeah. So when you have that initial conversation with a retailer, bringing it back to that retailer Taranis relationship, tell me about that, Brian. What does that look like? Does the industry have a good grasp of AI and what it can provide, what kind of a tool it is to extend their team's manpower? Tell me about that.
Yeah, so that's always a conversation we're having when we walk into retail. The use of AI in agriculture isn't really as well known quite yet as we feel that it needs to be. So I think back, we had an opportunity to go to Top Producer Summit here recently, and there were 3 or 4 of us from Taranis there, and there was a panel discussion that was done. And we stepped in and we're standing in the back listening to that panel discussion. And that panel discussion basically revolved around the use of AI in agriculture. And one of the big things that they were talking about is the use of aerial imagery and artificial intelligence in agriculture. And they said they see that as the future. And there were a lot of us in the back that were wanting to just raise our hand and say, it's already here. Taranis is already doing it. So it's not something that is really widely known at this point, but it's a huge benefit to agriculture. And when I go into retailers and I discuss this with them and share with them what Taranis can do, it's really eye-opening. And it's like, holy cow, this can be done. So it's not really readily known, but it's here. We can do it.
Yeah. Yeah. And elaborate a little bit more on that. The holy cow, this can be done. That is, I mean, essentially that's what drew you to work for Taranis, was the holy cow, this can be done. Talk a little bit about how Taranis is changing the lives of retailer teams.
Yeah, so it really is. When I talk to retailers, I like to tell them that, we are a digital employee for you. It's like adding another staff member to your team. The use of artificial intelligence it's a tool that honestly, when somebody asks me, what are you selling through Taranis? I'm selling time and I'm selling efficiency. Ultimately, that's what it is. Um, Whenever a sales rep can come in and look at the dashboard in the morning and prioritize his day, prioritize what growers they need to go to, and do this over thousands of acres, and you do that multiplied over 4, 5, 6 sales reps at a location, it ultimately, AI is another employee for them.
Another employee, not a replacement of an employee, because I know that that's often a concern, as well as, AI is going to replace all of this human capital. What's your stance on that, Brian?
So no, I don't feel that AI is going to replace human capital. I think it's going to aid in the current employees and just make them better at their job. I don't think it's going to replace them at all. Like I said, we're a digital employee. We aid in what they're doing. We're a sales enablement tool. We're another tool for them. But I don't see that as replacing the employees that are there currently, because you still need that human aspect. You still need the boots on the ground. You still need the relationship between the retail rep and the grower.
Right, right. Another question so when I started putting together that outline for my conversation with Near, I went to a lot of chat rooms. I went to Facebook. I was asking questions to farmers. What are your questions around AI? And one of the central questions that I received across several different chat groups was how AI is going to provide a greater advantage for larger farms. And I know in conversations that I've had with the Taranis team, you guys have just the opposite outlook on that. You're looking at it as a leveling field. Tell me about that and what your take is on it.
Yeah, I don't think that AI is just for the large growers. I think it's for everybody. It's for your 200-acre growers. It's for your 2,000-acre growers. It's for your 20,000-acre growers. It's ultimately designed to allow for better decision making on the farm, and ultimately to grow more crop, better yield, make more money. And I think that works all the way around the horn for your small growers, for your large growers, for your mega growers. Um, Everybody's sized the way they are, and honestly, artificial intelligence can aid in every size farm that's out there today.
Yeah, and just hearing the things that you're sharing in our conversation here this morning, you talked about how easily it is to prioritize your day before you ever leave the office. That has to benefit small growers.
Absolutely.
If you're looking at an agronomist covering 70,000 acres, maybe some of those smaller fields don't get the love and the attention if they're, way out in the middle of nowhere that they would otherwise. Well, if you have a Taranis report that pulls up and you see the dashboard and you can clearly see something's going on, I mean, it's really, it's not about acres, it's about what pops up on the dashboard. Is that correct?
That's 100% correct. It's all about prioritizing your day. It's all about knowing what's going on out there. It's all about decision making. Even some of these smaller fields that are tucked away, might be tough to get to, so they don't get the attention they need. Where when we're going out there, we're flying that field, we're identifying the threats on every single acre of that field. We're giving it the attention it needs, and you're able to really know what's going on out there. We're the eye in the sky. What better way to know what's going on out there than from up above and seeing it on every single acre?
Yeah, yeah, truly a service that retailers are able to pass on to their growers. And in that same vein, looking at the pace that technology becomes outdated today, that was another key concern, certainly a relevant question that was asked amongst those chat groups. You guys have a very different take on technology. So you are AI driven, you're using drones as the vehicle to capture that information, but the technology isn't in a situation where it ever becomes outdated. Am I correct in saying that, Brian?
Yeah, 100% correct. The hardware side of things, the drones, the cameras, all that can always be upgraded. But when it comes to artificial intelligence, it's never going to be outdated. The artificial intelligence is a learning machine, so it's just constantly teaching itself. It's getting better. Um, and it won't outdate. The more data captures that we provide for it, the better it gets. So it's updating itself essentially. It's just constantly getting better and being able to identify those threats better and better year after year.
So it would seem like if it is getting better year after year, this is not just a service tool to provide crop insights. This is a training tool. Are you seeing a lot of the retailers that you're working with using it to train younger agronomists and pick out some of those key insights that they need to know but may not be prevalent to?
Absolutely. I'm actually have been talking with a retailer who has a couple young reps that they've brought into the sales side of things, and their agronomy knowledge might not be the strongest right now. And Taranis is a tool that they can use to basically train those guys, and help them build their agronomic knowledge and get better. So yes, it's 100%. It's a training tool for the retailers also, a way for their to grow their knowledge in the agronomy side of the business.
Mhm. So expand on that a little bit more. So, you talked about here at the beginning of the conversation being able to sit at your desk and prioritize your day by looking at the dashboard. I'm guessing an agronomist in the field has that same dashboard access. So the supervisor sitting in their office can be looking at the same information that an agronomist or a grower is looking at in the field. Is that correct?
Absolutely, yes. So when a retailer signs up, it's all built into the grower farm field hierarchy, so they have visibility over everything that they have. So a manager can be looking at it along with a young sales rep, and they're both identifying the same things. They can communicate back and forth and learn off of it.
Yeah, and so really you're maximizing the opportunity for those seasoned agronomists to train up the next level of agronomy experts in that retail environment. So very cool, very cool. That's I think that apples to apples conversation is one of the most powerful things that you guys do across the platform is, everyone is able to see the exact same thing at the exact same time. And what that does for decision making from the guys that I've visited with is just it's unparalleled in the industry. You guys do such a phenomenal job with that. So, another recurring theme that was across all of these chat boards was cost. We talk about technology becoming outdated, and then the next logical step to that is cost. Because if I'm going to buy something and it's going to be outdated in 3 years, how do I ever capture the ROI that I need to capture? Talk about how you guys explain ROI, what that looks like between a retailer grower situation. And I know Taranis has a little bit of a different model because you work directly through the retailer.
Yep. Yep. So, ROI on the retail side of things, it's all about product placement and product validity, and efficiency and time management. So there's multiple different ways to look at ROI on the retail side of things. It's going to help them better place products. It's going to help them sell more products. It's going to make their staff more efficient, and have better time management. It's ultimately no different than going out and buying another pickup truck for that retail location. It's adding almost another employee to their staff. So there's a lot of different ways to look at ROI from the stance of a retailer. From the stance of a grower, the ROI basically, if Taranis identifies one issue out in that field and you're able to make a management decision and go out and correct that issue, Taranis just paid for itself. So there's a lot of different ways to look at that ROI, from retail and from a grower standpoint, but there are so many different things that Taranis does that ultimately it returns on that investment very, very quickly.
Yeah. Yeah. And, I have to think we are just getting rolling planting here in Northeast Kansas, and there are a lot of plots going in here in the next 30 days. When we talked about the size of the farm that can utilize AI and Taranis specifically, are you seeing a lot of these retailers using these insights on their plots to get better information and to really dive in and really capture those year over year records as well?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, these early flights that we do and the stand counts are so important on an emerging crop to get that crop started off right and know what your populations are out there. So yeah, we're seeing a lot of retailers that are using this to fly their test plots or their side by sides or different things to validate those products, to identify what those initial stand counts are on their plots, to know that they're getting the emergence that they need. We're seeing a more and more of that happening, a lot on the side by sides and identifying what products are best out there and validating those products.
Mhm. Yeah. Well, let's talk a little bit more about how user friendly Taranis is. It's really an involvement level to the level that you want to take it. Am I correct in saying that?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, so walk me through how the process works. So if I'm a retailer listening in this morning, um, what are some of the key pieces? Are they going to have to add staff to make this work for them?
No, absolutely not. And that's what's really nice about Taranis is we're 100% full service. So we basically need 5 things to get started. The important ones are field boundaries, planting date, crop type, row spacing, and the target population. Once we get those 5 things, we completely take it over. Like I said earlier, we work off of a GDU model to start our initial flights, where we come in 250 to 300 GDUs after planning to get the crop emerged. That gets us into our mission 1, and then we start a cadence after that of every 10 to 15 days for our initial other flights. And it's very easy. Once those 5 things are put in and we fly the field, we capture the data, the AI analyzes that data, and you're getting a notification, whether it's an email or push notification on your phone that says, hey, field XYZ has been flown, it's processed, it's ready for you to view. And then it's right there at your fingertips. You log into the dashboard, Everything's color coded. You can prioritize, you can filter by anything, identify those fields that have the issues, and those are the fields you need to spend your time in. So basically, Taranis takes it over, and you just supplied with the data, and you filter down through it 10, 15 minutes, and you identify where you need to go and what you need to do.
Mm-hmm. So bringing this conversation back to where we started at, what does all of this mean for quality of life? How does this change a crop scout, an agronomist, a retailer's quality of life in the busy season?
Ultimately, it's going to give them time back at the end of the day. Like I mentioned, if you have 20 fields you're planning on looking at in a day, Taranis identifies that only 4 or 5 of those fields need your attention. You just gained a lot more hours back in the day to do what you need to do. Get you out of work earlier at the end of the day so you can go home and have dinner with your family. You can make it to a baseball game, whatever you need to do. But ultimately, and that's what really drew me to Taranis, was the quality of life that it can bring back to these retailers and to the employees, to the growers, and give them time back at the end of the day, for that work-life balance, to be able to spend time with their family.
Mhm. And I think any retailer would agree that agronomy positions are so hard to fill right now. It's one of the biggest openings that we have across the agriculture sector. And with a tool like this, what does that do to, so if you're a young agronomist, Brian, and you're looking at different companies to come on board with, do you
Mhm.
choose the one where your boots on the ground in every field, or do you choose the company where you have a tool to assist what you're doing and provide some of that quality of life?
Absolutely. Recruitment is one of the hardest things in agronomy right now. And I like to tell the retailers that I sit down with that Taranis can be a recruitment tool. When you have something like this that you are offering, it really sparks the interest of some of the younger crowd that's looking for a profession right now. So you can use that to help bring in some of these younger employees. The technology they're all for, but ultimately having a tool that helps them out, helps them learn, helps them grow, helps with the work-life balance and their time efficiency and everything else. It's a great tool to help grab some of those younger employees.
Yeah, and I have been that young agronomist standing in the field talking to a grower. And when you're fresh out of college, you don't know what you don't know, and you can sit in a classroom and you can learn everything that you need to know from a textbook. But being able to have a conversation with a grower standing in a field, talking about what's going on and real dollars that they're going to have to spend to solve those issues, if you have that hard copy, if you have that information that you can hold in your hand and say, "You're looking at the same thing that I'm looking at," I have to think that that is a confidence booster for a young agronomist that they won't find anywhere else.
Absolutely. For them to be able to bring that type of information to the farm, not only is a confidence booster for them, but it's also rapport building with that grower. Growers are very relationship based, and you bring somebody young, somebody new in, and they've got to build that relationship. And what better way to help build that relationship than to bring valuable information to the farm and boost your confidence and bring valuable information. It's just a great tool all around.
Absolutely. Well, Brian, as we look at wrapping up here this morning, is there anything that I've missed? What are your thoughts on where AI is headed in the future? Are we going to see more AI application on the farm?
Absolutely. I think, we're just the tip of the iceberg right now as far as what AI can do on the farm. I think there's a lot more to come, and a lot more as it learns more. But I think the future holds a lot more application for AI on the farm. And I think that's what the industry is wanting too. I think the industry is looking that way. And it's ultimately, how can we make better decisions? How can we grow better crops? How can we make more money? How can we make better work-life balance? And honestly, I think AI is the answer to all that.
Yeah. Yeah. At the end of the day, who doesn't want to spend more time with their family?
Absolutely.
Well, Brian, thank you so much for joining us here for the AcreForward podcast today. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. I hope that we were able to answer some questions out there around AI and certainly around the way Taranis provides quality of life and what a relationship building tool it really is. Always great to have these conversations. We look forward to having more. If you'd like to listen to this episode or any of our past AcreForward episodes, you can find us at AcreForwardPodcast.com or wherever you listen to your podcast normally. Thanks for joining us.